This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Creations Entertainment Network.
I'm Jason Klaus. And over the course of my life, I've done a lot of different things, and I've worn a lot of different hats. But this may be my greatest endeavor yet. On this show, we are going to focus on life. We are going to focus on the basic fundamentals. We are going to focus on the silver lining. Because no matter what happens, no matter what is thrown our way, there is a silver lining. There is a lesson to be learned. Sometimes we just have to look a little bit harder, a little bit deeper for it. That's what this show is all about. Sometimes you're rough, sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're hard to listen to. But it's something that you need to hear. This just got real.
And now, Pure Creations Entertainment Network. It's a flagship show, the Klaus to the Heart podcast. Here is your host, Jason Klaus.
Welcome to the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network. You are listening to the Klaus to the Heart podcast. I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. I don't know what was happening right that second, but all of a sudden I couldn't hear myself. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I've got to make sure my levels are still up. So hopefully this is recording right. Let me just go ahead and say this right out of the gate. There is a reason why at the very start of every show, there is that rated M disclaimer. And that's there in an effort to let the listeners know that the content that they're fixing to hear is of adult-oriented language and communication. This is also our effort to more or less, I hate putting it like this, but just for decency purposes, we'll say this. We try to detour the younger demographic away from that kind of, content, language, what have you. I feel like it's my responsibility to do that. But that doesn't mean because I having laid all that out, I'm going to censor myself. That's not going to happen. And I came on this very program some time ago. And I said, I was more or less pulling out all the stops. I was going to be the most genuine and authentic version of myself while I do this program. What this does is it gives people an opportunity in real time to bear witness to the fundamental changes in my approach with this funny little thing we call life. I do maintain that in just about every situation, with very few exceptions, there is always a silver lining. There is always a lesson to be learned. There is always something that you can take away from a less than ideal situation that you can incorporate moving forward so you don't repeat the same mistakes or missteps. I realize that there are those of you who tune in here to this show because my approach with things is on some level a source of entertainment. I have been told many times that this very program is on the must-listen list every week, and I truly appreciate that because the way I communicate resonates. That's what we do. It's what we strive for. But I'm also a realist, and I realize that my kind of presentation, commentary, things of this nature, isn't well received by every single person walking the face of the earth. And I understand that. But that's where you have the power, right? That you have the power whether you dedicate that time listening to the show or not. You know, if I'm not for you, what are you listening for? Unless you're looking for clickbait. That's the funny thing about social media nowadays and how people go about it, how much they put out there. Because, you know, people will use what you put out as the basis of their narrative. And, you know, if you're not necessarily on friendly terms, they're going to use that opportunity and any information on there to shame you, to talk shit, to, you know, just a bunch of unnecessary drama. And on the other hand, the person posting it, you know, you have an option as to what you're putting out there, and it doesn't matter what you're posting. If you're going to take the time and the effort to post it or share it or what have you, you better damn well be ready to have to low-key offend it if it gets called into question. And there lies one of the underlying negative forces associated with social media. Now, this show's not about social media, you know, exclusively, but, you know, it's hard to not reference it because it's our primary way of communicating nowadays, by and large. Everybody is on some platform. Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, you're on something. By and large, very few people do I know that are just not on social media at all. And bless your hearts. You know, I can appreciate that. Given what we do here and the capability to expand and to promote the network, that's one of the benefits to social media, and that's the side that I zero in on. I'm not one who is going to be picking up my phone and just scroll. And I'll tell you why. I got into a conversation the other day about this because it gets really exhausting to see something that somebody posts that puts themselves in a glowing light, but you know how they are on the other side of the keyboard, and it's disingenuous. I am not one of those people that's going to go on social media and put anybody personally on blast. I just don't feel like that's the right way to handle things. That's just not me. But make no mistake, things come across my radar whether I want them to or not. And it often starts with the question, phrased in some way or another as, "Oh my God, did you see what so-and-so posted?" Or, "Holy shit, did you see what so-and-so's going through?" This, that, and the other thing, right? I don't know if people are expecting some sort of over-the-top and animated response from me, because the look of disappointment when I don't give it to them is low-key amusing. I don't have to engage in that kind of conversation, because generally conversations like that turn into a shit talking session, and that's not necessarily something I want to spend my time and effort and energy on. Even if I do agree with the narrative on the table, I don't have to engage in that. I'll give my opinion when point blank asked, but it's going to be short and to the point. There's not going, if I'm one of those people. You ask me a point-blank question, I'll give you a point-blank answer. And depending on what the topic is, will determine as to how deep into that answer I go. Because anybody who knows me, talks to me on any realm, on any level, knows I can get pretty granular. This is where I sit back and I wait patiently, very patiently, because I am a firm believer that karma comes back around. Karma don't do no jobs. I don't give a shit what your beliefs are. There is some energy force labeled karma. That is a very real thing. And when that comes back around and collects its debt, that's when I sit back with probably a look of amusement on my face. Not because I wish general ill will on people, because by and large I don't. But when people start getting called out for disingenuous practices, generally speaking, you've got to know that it's going to come back around. And when it happens, the ones on the receiving end of that are going to once again go to social media and vent or give a timeline or a description or a story of everything that's going wrong in their lives, with the hopes of gaining some degree of sympathy or support. But when there are those people who are reading this and they know what this is, whether the other party wants to acknowledge it or not, and they won't, because nobody likes to admit where they're wrong. that's where I get my satisfaction. You know, as unfortunate as it is, they had it fucking coming. Their season of bullshit expired. And karma came back around to collect. It's unfortunate, but you kind of laid the groundwork yourself, you know. And let me also say that this is on the side of the spectrum where your acts, your words, your disingenuous nature, and how you have manipulated, used, brought any kind of ill will towards another human, mindfully, purposely, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people who get sick or lose loved ones. And, you know, a lot of that shit happens at one time. That's not karma. I'm talking about the people who present themselves in one way to the public, like they are an angel among us, when in fact it is the opposite. They could be decent people, they just elect not to conduct themselves that way. Okay? And sometimes when karma does come to collect, you get to see in real time how much they're coming to collect. It's pretty crazy, really. And this will either humble a person and make them reshift their focus, or they're so fucking arrogant they don't see that for what it is. And it's too bad. But you get around individuals like this, you spend any kind of time with individuals like this, and it starts to affect you. It starts to affect how you feel things, how you look at things, how you think, what kind of mood that you're in, and what kind of mood you're in is going to determine how you're going to treat other people, your friends, your family, your significant other, your loved one, whatever the case may be. It just does. And if it's a repeated thing, time after time after time, and every interaction is just forged by this bout of negativity, it's like, holy shit. At some point, you got to stop and hit the reset button. I don't know about anybody else, but I am not somebody that likes to spend a lot of time around an overwhelmingly powerful aura of negativity. I can't handle it. It's too much. And unfortunately, when there are those people where you look back on those you talk to on a regular basis, how much of those conversations from day to day are of a negative nature? It just gets to be too much. And I do back away from that. I'm not as excited to engage in that kind of conversation. Just not. But it's crazy to me how much we allow ourselves to take, how much are we allowing ourselves to be exposed to in terms of negativity, ill feelings, things that generally just suck the energy right out of you? Now, there are those people that will just endure that because they're worried about being perceived as somebody who doesn't care. They're worried about being perceived as they're self-absorbed. They're they're not connected. They to their core, they want to be there for those kind of people, and they'll just suck it up and go head first into it, and just sort of become engulfed in that aura of negativity. Some people can handle it a lot better than others. I mean, I did this shit for years. And it wasn't until some pretty significant life-altering events that put shit in perspective for me. And ever since then, man, my whole approach with life is different. I am not here to entertain any degree of bullshit, disingenuousness, anything like that. And if there are those people out there who do take their time to listen to my show, even though that they do not like me for one reason or the other, a good portion of them is on that side of the spectrum because I had deemed them to be people that I did not want to spend any more time around or with than I absolutely fucking had to, because their aura is negative. They're disingenuous. And then you get other examples where you find out that people people that you gave benefit of the doubt to over the course of time, their true colors come out, and you see for what they really truly are, and you just you're like, oh, gives you that ick. That's happened very recently. Where, and then you find out that this person or these people that you believed in, that you liked, that you went out of your way to help, or you had some decent times with, parties and dinners and all this other shit. It doesn't even matter. You've gone to concerts, you've gone to games, you've gone to this, that, and the other thing. Like, there was at some point what was deemed to be a friendship there, or some sort of a relationship, only to find out that all the while they're talking shit about you. And it goes deeper. If they use personal information that you may have conveyed to them in confidence, they put their own narrative on it and talk shit to other people. And then they wonder why there's some sort of separation on some level, in some regard. All of these aspects will fuck with your mental health. All of these aspects will dictate what kind of day you have before you roll out of bed. A lot of these aspects are going to put a cloud in the sunshine of your day. And you can't escape it. or so it seems. So I'm going to give you a life hack, and this was inspired by a video that was sent to me by my sister-in-law, and it was very timely. Very timely. Short 15, 16 second video, but man, you didn't need a whole lot of time to get the point across. I took it and expanded it, went deep into it, because that's what I do here. You can watch anything in a 16, 17 second clip, but there's always an elaborate backstory that fueled those seconds. Problem is that people's attention spans these days doesn't allow them to get to the root of anything. So everything that they feel is only surface level by and large, unless they are that invested. And they will take the time to do the deep dive and ask the questions and get to the root of whatever the fuck it was that you just watched or heard or was exposed to. So I'm going to give you a life hack. Sometimes, and look, I know this is going to be very controversial. And I know this is going to ruffle some feathers. This is going to piss some people off. And that's unfortunate. Especially when you become the ones on the ones on the receiving end of this. Sometimes, in order to maintain your personal mental health, all you got to do is stand up on your own 2 feet, clear your throat, stand up nice and tall, and unapologetically tell people to go fuck themselves. If you are met with any degree of negativity that is being thrown at you, dumped on you, anything that causes you any kind of long-term negative feeling, or anybody that is creating some sort of obstacle on the path of your happiness, on the path to your goals or your dreams, because it may not align with their narrative, may not align with what they want or think you should live your life like, there is nothing wrong with telling these people in some way or another simply to go fuck themselves. You see, folks, the biggest criticism that I get is that I'm too black and white. I'm too on one side or the other. You got to live in the gray area. You got to compromise. You got to do that. Look, make no mistake. I do my fair share of compromising. But I don't live the basis of my life like that. It's unsustainable. There's too much moving and shaking and shifting going on. You can't form a solid foundation on something like that. I don't give a rat's ass how many technological advances we get hurled at us and thrown at us to make our lives easier, faster, smoother, all this other shit. At the end of the day, it still does come down to black and white, what is right and what is wrong. I do not understand why there is a contingent of the population of this planet that does not understand that. And here's the other thing. You ready for this? Those who live their lives in this gray area, you are the ones who are most lacking common sense. Period. You've got to have a foundation of black and white, right and wrong, because it gets no more solid than that. You cannot dispute that. That is unshakable. There is right and there is wrong. There is good, there is evil. There is love, there is hate. If you are one who refuses to see this, you're probably finding out that this is why there's so much uncertainty within the way you're living your life right now. And you're finding out that your path to wherever or whatever it is that you're striving for, these obstacles and these challenges and these roadblocks and all this stuff, that they're happening because there is a fundamental lack of common sense. And you can pick that apart and you can debunk it, you can do whatever you want. But if you were actually honest with yourself and you sat down and looked in the mirror, you would know, you would realize that that's probably as true of a statement as I've ever made on here. And I do understand that personal childhoods, upbringings, things of this nature do play a part, a huge part, into your current day thought process and how you navigate through life. I get that. I do. And these are often people who are seeking help. They're getting help to try to overcome those types of scenarios, some on far extreme levels. But if you broke it down, it does come back down to black and white. Just something to think about as you embark on this spring week. A lot of families are in the midst of spring break this week around this area. So hopefully those of you who are under that umbrella, you have a safe spring break week. We certainly appreciate everybody tuning in here. And if you haven't done so already, check out the online store at pfcstore.printify.me, or you can check out the spring lineup over at pfcspring.printify.me. And with that, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we will see you next week right here on the Close to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network.